Welcome to Beer with Nat. On every episode, I share a beer and a chat with people who do what they love for a living. They work in the beer industry. I couldn't be more pleased to kick off my first episode with today's guest, the incredible Jaega Wise. Jaega is head brewer at Wild Card Brewery in Walthamstow, East London, the brewery she's been a part of since it opened in 2012. When she's not in the brewhouse, you can catch Jaega on the telly, as she's a presenter on Channel 5's The Wine Show. She's also been widely recognized for her work as an equality campaigner for the industry, which has seen her so eloquently address the issue of sexism in the beer industry at conferences and festivals up and down the country. She's a recently qualified beer sommelier and beer judge too. As if all of this doesn't sound impressive enough, she was recently shortlisted for Brewer of the Year by the British Guild of Beer Writers for their annual awards, and was included in the Evening Standard's Progress 1000, a list of London's most influential people in 2018. Jaega and I talk about how her background in engineering led her to her current role as head brewer, and how her passion for homebrewing still fuels her creativity in the brewhouse today. We discuss the changes she's called for to help bring equality to the beer industry, and how Jaega is helping in her own way by organizing the London chapter of her friend Sophie Duran's International Women's Collaboration Brew Day each March. Jaega tells me where she finds her inspiration and what she gets up to in her free time. We also talk about what drives her, when she's at her happiest, what she loves most about being a part of the industry, and a whole lot more. Here she is.
So with me today, I have bought a passion fruit ghost. This is very, very fresh. It was literally canned last week. It is 4.8%, made with lots of passion fruit.
I saw that picture on Twitter. I know it was made with lots of passion fruit.
Lots of really, really expensive passion fruit.
So we'll see if the money comes across in the flavour.
Yeah, I was nervous. When you see that invoice, you're like, whew.
Yeah.
Whew, it better taste like passion fruit.
Jeez. And does it?
Well, we'll have to see.
Okay, we'll find out.
Yeah, So this beer, it's kettle soured, this one. So, and then we added the passion fruit towards the end of fermentation.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. Oh, it looks beautiful.
Oh, yeah. You can smell it already, can't you?
Yeah, it's got a really nice colour. It looks like
passion fruit.
Passion fruit. Yeah, exactly. With a really beautiful head on it as well.
Well, cheers.
Oh, yeah. Cheers. Thanks so much for joining me and for bringing some beers. So why did you bring this one today?
So I bought this one, so...
Oh, it's so passion fruity. It's like I'm drinking passion fruit juice as a beer. And then you get that little bit of tartness.
Yep, and a little bit of salt on there.
Yeah. Well done, Jaega. I'm loving it. You can just chat away.
Yeah.
I'm just going to drink this.
Yeah, I find the salt just really kind of sharpens everything. It kind of heightens it. It's not overwhelming. It's like nicely sitting in the background, but it really pulls everything together. So I bought this one today because... you won't have tried it before. It's brand new. It's been an absolute pleasure to brew the new series of beers at Wildcard. We recently moved sites, which meant we got more fermenters, which means I finally have time and tank space to brew some other things.
Play around a bit.
Yeah, to brew other things that are not core range. So, and we've just had a massive change in the brewery. So pleased with how the beers are tasting.
Okay, fab. So I'm going to take you back a few steps. To just bring people up to speed on what you do at Wildcard. So you have been with Wildcard since the beginning, when it was founded in 2012.
Yep.
And now you have worked your way up to head brewer. So can you talk me through a bit about what your role was when the brewery first got off the ground, and how you've made your transition to where you are now?
So when the brewery first started, there wasn't really a brewery, to be honest. We were cuckoo brewing at another brewery's site, and it was someone I admire quite a lot, Sophie Durand, now one of the brewers over at Burnt Mill. And I was brewing with her, Will was brewing with her, and we got what little money we had together. And then we basically made the beer, then we sold it, then we did it again, then we sold it. And eventually we got investment from the Brightside Trust, who were investing in young people at the time. So I was doing lots of van delivery and lots of brewing beer with Sophie. And then that was 2012. And then we were able to get our own tap room in late 2013. Which is in Walthamstow, our Ravenswood industrial estate. And we've just managed to get our second tap room on the other side of Walthamstow. So.
Yeah. And then you had a background in brewing. Is that how you were able to move to be a head brewer?
So I come from an engineering background. So I come from a chemical engineering background. And it's all processes. It's like giant giant chemistry, isn't it?
Yeah.
There are lots of problems you have on a big scale that just don't exist on a small scale, in terms of chemistry. So that for me was my transition, and it's so useful having a scientific background. Just when you turn up and you're like, oh, there's pumps and there's heat exchangers, and you're like, oh, I know what those things do. So yeah.
And so you talked briefly about the fact that you had a core range that you would stick to brewing. Now that you've had a bit of investment, you guys have got a new site, now you're getting to play around a bit. So what are some of these experiments that you're getting to do?
So I'm a big fan of home brewing, just generally.
Okay.
And a lot of the recipes that we're going to be coming out with over the next kind of 6 months are beers that I will have tried on a homebrew scale.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. I spend a lot of time at, do you know Brew Club in Clapton? Yeah. It's down the road from my house.
Amazing.
So, I'm in there a fair bit. We've got some really exciting things coming up. But the passion fruit, for example, was brewed at Brew Club first, as was the Nipa, and as are some of the other ones we've got coming out soon as well. So.
Nice little teaser there for what's coming next.
Yeah.
And I've also seen you starting to share a lot of content on social, little behind the scenes videos and clips of the latest projects that you're working on. What inspired that?
Utter stupidity, to be honest. Oh. You know when you're just doing something and you're like, you know what? I'm just going to take
Other people need to see this. Come on.
I literally shared a video of me punching some grapes the other day.
I know, I saw that. Was, so what's that gonna? How does that help the grapes? What does that do? Bring out more flavor?
I would love to say that it's a really technical reason as to why I was punching grapes. But
Someone just told you to do it and you gave it a go.
No, I bought a masher and the masher
didn't turn up on time.
It broke within like seconds, like as in my first mash, and then it snapped. And then I'm left with, like, it was like 100 kilos of grapes. I'm like, I need to juice you.
Yeah.
How do I juice you?
You didn't want to step in there and squash them like the good old days? I
was very tempted to do that. Very, very tempted. But my toes weren't quite ready for that situation. So I thought, how can I get a similar effect?
Use your hands instead.
So I just used my hands instead. And I totally see why they step on grapes. It's really actually difficult to squish them enough to get the juice out without a force like that.
Having something to use for it.
Okay,
and when can we expect to see the beer that has those grapes in there?
So
weeks, months, years?
So one of the benefits of us moving site is we've been able to make the old site a barrel aging room. So what I am doing, I've got some lovely Rioja barrels that I've put a saison in, which is it was a really great saison to begin with before putting it in barrels. So it's aging nicely in there, and I'm gonna add the grapes into the saison. So we should have kind of a wine beer
winey
hybrid, which is something I'm super interested in. There's such a history of winemaking that's so fascinating. So we're gonna see where it goes.
All right. Well, I was going to ask you a different question, but now that you've spoken about wine, I know you're learning a little bit more about winemaking because outside of your role as head brewer, you're also a TV presenter on Channel 5's The Wine Show. So how did that come about, and what have you learned about wine?
That came about because I don't actually know. I was doing bits and bobs in telly, mainly science based, and some stuff for the History Channel and some stuff for Channel 4.
Yeah, all with your engineering background?
Yes, yeah. So it was basically stuff like, this is how this works, this is how this works. Which is a lot of fun, but you basically just a talking head. And then I got approached to do the first show, which was a Channel 4 show, where I got to go to New York and meet Garrett Oliver, my hero.
Oh, amazing! That's exciting.
Which is amazing. I got to interview him, and then just I just started getting calls about beer.
Okay.
So I thought, why not talk about the thing
that you
I really know about?
So well, yeah.
Yeah. So. And
what have you got to teach people about on the program so far?
So on the program so far, I am talking all about beer. So. In one of the first episodes, it was actually episode 2. I go to Japan, where I talk all about sake.
Okay.
And sake is actually really super interesting because there's quite a crossover between wine, beer, and sake.
Okay.
Sake is brewed really similarly to a beer. It is a fermented rice, essentially. But the way it's treated, the way it's revered, its ties to religion is really similar to the way wine is treated.
Okay.
So there's a really, really interesting dichotomy between the two that's explored in one of the episodes. And then one of the other episodes I'm in, we go to Munich. And Joe Fattorini, the presenter, tries fruitlessly to teach me or to tell me that wine is better than beer in Munich.
Not when you're in Munich. No way.
No chance.
That's a losing battle. I went there last December, and oh my goodness, you've got the Christmas markets, the giant pretzels, and amazing beer at every turn.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible, but it actually has a really interesting wine history.
Okay.
Yeah, so he taught me lots of things about wine, which is really interesting. Got to have some amazing like wine and beer food matches, which was absolutely incredible. It doesn't really get much better than being able to travel and drink beer.
Yeah. So where else have you gone for beercations, as I like to call them?
Beercations. I'm still yet to do Belgium.
Oh my goodness.
I'm yet to do Belgium, considering we're so close.
Yeah.
It's definitely next on my bucket list.
All right.
So I haven't done that. Just generally a lot of Europe, actually. I've not done a huge amount of. So obviously I went to Germany. Would love to go to Spain. Mm-hmm. Would love to go to Spain.
For the wine? For the beer?
Always for the beer.
Yep.
I'll dabble in the wine.
Yep. I mean, when in Spain, come on.
When in Spain. But yeah, so I was lucky enough to go to Australia in May, which was really, really incredible. Mm-hmm. They've got such interesting hops and some amazing tropical notes and there's nowhere else in the world we can get the hops that taste like that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Is there any way we could bring those flavors back to the UK? Would you use Australian hops in brewing, or by the time they've reached us, some of those flavors have dissipated?
Probably. To be honest, when I was over there, I got the opportunity to brew with a brewery called Two Birds Brewery. And we had some Galaxy and some Vic Secret and some Australian Cascade. And I've never seen hops like it, like genuinely. When they arrived, they were so gummy and so sticky.
Oh, wow.
It was just it
so
was
full
so
of resin.
resinous and it was full of life and like bright, like almost luminous green. And I was like, so this is hops.
Yeah.
So I've not brewed a huge amount with Australian hops in the UK, but I do have some ranges coming out very soon. So maybe you will see more.
There we go. Another brilliant teaser. Thank you.
But I've definitely been inspired by some of the flavours. And especially some of the flavours in New Zealand as well. Some really interesting, kind of musty, coconutty, like really fascinating flavours.
I'm a big fan of the Nelson Sauvin hop.
Yeah, exactly.
With those white wine notes. And, my mom's not much of a beer drinker, but she loves white wine. So I'm like, oh, smell this. There's going to be some familiar aromas and flavours in here. And it can help introduce people who are used to certain other notes that, say they don't like beer. They'll find something in one of those.
Always.
And where else do you go looking for inspiration for your brewing?
Looking for inspiration, I think everywhere and anywhere really. So it can be as simple as you've literally just like tried something really delicious, and it doesn't necessarily have to be beer. It can be like a food, it can be sweets, it can be anything. And just the same place you get inspiration from for anything. Yeah. The sky.
Yeah, right. Our experience of being alive and whatever you bump into and whatever comes your way.
Yeah, life, I think.
Yeah.
I think life. But for this new range, we do have a really interesting thing happening at Wild Card at the minute, where we have a spreadsheet, right? Where every member of the team, so all the bar staff, like the brewery, the sales team, we have a spreadsheet where you can write any idea that you possibly want on this spreadsheet. In a beer, right? And
I'm
the premise,
intrigued already.
the premise of it, no idea is a bad idea.
Okay.
And I will go through them like once a month
and explore.
And I will I'll homebrew like top 3 ideas.
What's the wackiest?
What's the wackiest? We've had some very convoluted versions of like DDH like black IPA with a twist and a you know what I mean, ...
Yep.
There's been lots of that.
Layer. So for those who don't know, DDH is double dry hopped. So that's going to be very hop forward so I take it black malts for a black IPA. So lots of roast character and lots of bitterness. So yeah, this might not be the crowd pleaser for everybody, but there'll certainly be somebody out there who'd love it.
And I've not brewed that one yet, but to be
explored,
to be potentially explored.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting. So there were some flavors that on paper I would have thought would work really well.
That's what I was going to ask next. What was most surprising?
Most surprising. So when I made this ghost that we're drinking now, I actually brewed a few different goses, and it was about 6 different goses, and one of them was a coconut.
Oh, interesting.
Ghost, which was really, really interesting. And like, I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
I really wasn't keen. That kind of creaminess.
But with the sharpness and the salt.
Yeah, it was a little bit too much. Yeah, it was a little bit too much.
Okay.
But yeah, found the passion fruit. So.
Yeah, the passion fruit's perfect.
Yeah.
Jaega's talking and I'm just sipping away on this, so my glass will be empty very soon. So we're going to step away from your role at the brewery for a moment. And we are going to talk about some of the work that you do outside of the brewery. You have been called by the drinks business a, quote, high-profile figure in the campaign against sexism in the industry. So I'd like to focus on you as an equality campaigner, essentially. So there's plenty of places, to go and read some of the comments that you've made, the speeches that you've given. But what I wanted to ask is, did you seek out the cause, or did this cause find you? How did you get involved as the high-profile figure that you are now?
I think for all women, the cause finds you, right? So it's unfortunately something that every woman that I know or have ever met has had some version of.
And would you say just in the beer world, or that's more broadly?
Yeah, broadly in life. Unfortunately, it's just the way things are at the moment. So for me, it's just saying like what's real and what's happened. It's not particularly like seeking anything out. It's just, it is what it is, unfortunately, and that's what the case is right now.
You've spoken at places like the Brewers Congress, the Manchester Beer Festival, and Craft Beer Rising, and some of the ways that you have suggested that could help provide more equality in the industry would be getting more data about women in beer, so we really understand the figures, who is working in the industry and at what levels. Creating a code of practice for marketing to ensure that marketing removes any sexist images and other images that can be discriminatory, and then to ban overtly sexualized labels from entering in competitions. Have we made progress on any of these approaches yet?
Yes, we definitely have made progress. So with regards to the SEBA survey, that was something that was taken on board quite quickly actually by SEBA.
And that's the Society of Independent Brewers here in the UK.
Which are basically our trade body. Disclaimer, who I now kind of work for. I don't think it's work if you don't get paid, but...
Jaega was recently elected to be a director of the Southeast region. So she's an elected director.
Yeah. And with regards to the competitions, that again was quick actually, them releasing statements saying that they wouldn't include sexist imagery in competitions in the future, but the kind of stickler is the code of practice, and that's something that we are currently working on. So there are 2 approaches really. There is the Portman Group, who is basically alcohol police, and it's their job to say yay or nay, like this is okay or this is not acceptable. And at the moment they currently don't really have the power. It's not included in any of their rules.
To allow them to take action.
Exactly. Okay. So we've been really working on changing those rules. So they have recently had an open call to say what would you like to see in our rules, in our code. And we've got a meeting happening late September, which hopefully we should be able to iron out some of the kinks of that. So I'm hopeful that that's going to go through on the Portman Group side. There's also the SEBA side. We're also trying to come up with a code of practice for SEBA itself, which is challenging, I'm not going to lie, but we'll see how far we get with that.
I mean, the important thing is the conversations are being started, and you're there to help lead them and see them through with many other members.
Yeah,
I mean, on both parties.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's really important that it's written down in legislation.
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to talk and to comment, and which is massively helpful, by the way. Like huge, like tweet away, like it's absolutely brilliant. However, I think we're only going to get longer lasting, quicker change through legislation.
With a rule book that we can reference, hold people to account. Yeah.
And nothing says something is not acceptable than from the voice of a legislative body. So
that's what we're working towards.
That's what we're working towards.
Amazing. We're making progress. And some of the things that you have commented on is, yes, this may be a little bit slower than we'd like. In parallel, there are plenty of support groups for women in the industry. You know, if you're feeling like you just need to talk to someone who's had a similar experience to you, we've got Liverpool's Ladies That Beer. We've got London-based Crafty Beer Girls, which are these great communities of women who are in the industry who have come together to support each other. But you have also created your own with the International Women's Day Collaborative Brew.
So this was actually Sophie Durand from Burnt Mill.
You've sort of taken ownership of it here in London.
So when I first met Sophie, so it's around about 5-6 years ago now, and I went and brewed at Brentwood Brewery where she was brewing at the time, and it was a gathering of women, and it's basically a project where all around the world women in breweries will brew the same beer on the same day.
So powerful.
Under the same hashtag.
Yeah. Gotta have a hashtag. We gotta share it.
Yeah. So Sophie comes up with the theme every year, and then we just kind of execute as much as we can. So the first year was the Unite Pale Ale, then it was the Unite Red Ale, then it was Unite Expression, Unite Local. Last year was Unite Exotic.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the 6th year to see exactly what's going to be going on. I have no idea. It's a very closely guarded secret of which I am not privy.
And how much time do you get to figure out the recipe? And
so I tend to put it out there. So I will tend to say everyone that's coming along, this is a group project. What do we want to make? Like, this is the theme this year. Throw out some ideas, and I'm a big fan of when people come to a brew day for them to actually like do stuff. It's really easy to sit
and watch.
Yeah, to sit and watch, and it's really easy for you to take control. And there's not a huge there is stuff that can go wrong. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not going to put people in positions where they're going to completely mess up the brew, so it's unrecoverable. However, you have to give people a shot and and let them do it. So last year we made a Unite Citrus of the World Saison, and it was made with as many exotic citrus fruits as we could physically get our hands on
here in London.
So
in March,
in the middle of March. So we went to New Spitalfields Market with Jen Merrick, who is incredible. She's ex head brewer of Beavertown. And she's now got her own project in Stratford, coming soon. So everyone came together, and the amazing thing is when you have 50 people in a room, you can get some serious work done.
Some serious zesting.
Some serious zesting and fruiting, and you can do a lot more than
just on your own, or
just
with
on
your
your
small
own
brew team.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to next year.
And how can other women get involved?
So other women can get involved by coming along on March the 8th.
So it's still a ways away, but it will be publicised on Facebook, on other social media.
Yeah, there will be breweries all around the country who will be hosting.
And world.
Yeah, and world, actually. Yeah, and world. The people in Japan, people in like South Africa, like Australia, all over the world. But in terms of my area and where I will be hosting, and it's an open call. So if you want to come along, just let me know.
Yeah, exactly. So keep March 8th free in your calendar, and you can help brew. So in addition to being a head brewer, a TV presenter, an equality campaigner, a director for SIBA.
Oh, Lord.
I know, right? I wonder how you have time for anything else you do. You recently qualified as a beer sommelier.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congrats to you too.
I think I was a month before you. So you know a ton about beer already, from the technical side, from the brewing side. What encouraged you to pursue your beer sommelier?
Honestly, it was confidence. I brew beer for a living, so I know an awful lot about beer. But I'm in loads of situations where no one cares about the technical side. They want to talk about flavours and tastes, and they want to talk about things it reminds them of, and the marshes and the what have you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Flowery talk.
Yeah.
And
beer can be so evocative for some people. When you think about food and beer pairings, for me, it is that little bit overly descriptive sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, let's get back to why it tastes this way. But people just want to talk about what they're picking up and the memories and.
Yeah. So I just wanted to get better.
Okay.
So I wanted to be better at that.
Yeah.
So
and have you put it into use? Have you done any talks and tastings since then? And have they felt different?
You know what? Yes, it has, because just before I went to Australia for Good Beer Week, where I did loads of talks and tastings and what have you. That's when I did all my training, the week before. Then I went away and then came back and did my exams. And I was using it all over the place. Name dropping all over the place, which is fabulous. It's putting into practice the heavily descriptive
nature of beer.
Yeah. Well, which it does take a little bit of work.
Yeah, I found it was a huge confidence boost as well. I really wanted to do it to say, this is what I know. These folks have tested me. I've shown that I know what I know. Now you can listen to me and trust me. And it was just sort of that feeling that, someone's held me to a standard. I can go on about this for days now.
Yep. If anyone ever says anything to me, I can bring out my shiny badge.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Excuse me, I'm a beer sommelier. Now, again, I can't believe you have time outside of the beer world, but I know one of your hobbies, and I'd like to ask about the rest. But you're a singer.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about the band that you're a part of, what got you into singing, and why you choose to make time for that.
So I have been singing for a really long time, singing before I can remember. And the band I'm in right now is a band called Hell and Hope. It's very, very rocky, very different from the direction I kind of traditionally come in. I'm primarily a soul singer.
Okay.
And it's very different, very, very post-rock, really quite ethereal. And it's really good. And I've never worked with such musicians before of the calibre that I'm working with now. So it's an absolute joy to play music with them.
That's so exciting.
I'm just happy they have me.
And where can people go listen to you?
So they can listen to us. Probably the best place to listen to us is actually live, because we've not got a huge amount recorded at the moment. We've got one song recorded, but and we gig regularly around London, so at least once a month or so. So if you want to come and see the band, come and see us live.
Yeah, and how can people find you?
They can find us on the website. So it's www.hellandho.pe.
Oh, that is a bit of a tricky one.
Yeah, because it's meant to be Hell and Hope, but one of the guys in the band thought it would be really clever to get a Peruvian
domain. Nice.
So that's why it's
there we go. So that's hellandho.pe. Probably a
cool, right?
Cool bar in Peru or something like that. It's too funny. I really like that you're a singer, because I do want to use the sort of rock star analogy for you. You do so much in the beer industry. You're so well known. So I want to know, with all the different things that you do, what drives you to do all the things that you do in beer and outside of beer?
Oh, that's a good question. What drives me? I think, like anyone, you want to do well, right? You want to... The thing you go to work and do every day, you want someone to say, you know what, that was good. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed that. So.
And what's good for you? Is that customer feedback? Is it someone listening to you live? Is it someone seeing you on the telly? All of that?
I think it's all of the above, really, isn't it? So it's you want people to drink your beer and be like, you know what? That's the best passion fruit ghost I've ever had. Or, you know what I mean? You want people to, just.
And what's your personal standard of good? What makes you feel like, yeah, that's a damn good beer?
It's interesting.
Oh, I did such a great recording today.
Yeah, not messing up is it? But you know what? My standard of what's really really good has changed ever since I've done the sommelier, probably a bit before then, quite a while before then.
How so?
Just doing beer judging. Like it really really helps. It really sharpens your palate. And just doing training, like lots and lots of training at the brewery, in terms of technical training, in terms of off flavors, just really honing those kind of skills. But yeah, you just do your best, right?
Quality and doing your best, and what feels good for you, and then what also hopefully you get that positive reinforcement from other people about what you're doing as well.
Yeah, and hopefully, yeah.
And if you do have a long day, a down day, someone says something terrible on social media, as they've been known to do, what picks you back up?
What picks me back up? I'd love to say that I never look at the horrible tweets, but you can't help yourself, can you?
They're there, yeah.
Yeah, they're there, and when people are mean, it stays with you for a little while. What picks me up at the end of the day? I like listening to music, and I'll obviously just have a really nice beer, or I'll go to the pub. Yeah. Just like what picks most English people up.
Yeah, seeing your friends, a bit of chat, a good beer.
Exactly. Yeah.
And do you have any free time for other hobbies? If so, what do you spend them on? What else do you like to do outside of beer and singing?
I'm trying to think what else I do. Oh God, no. To be fair, I read a lot. I read a fair amount. So, but quite specifically, I'm a bit of a fantasy nerd.
Okay. How quickly do you go through a book?
Depends on the thickness of the book.
Yeah. It's a rough one. I'm a very slow reader. Yeah. I'll get back to that someday.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of like Brandon Sanderson, a really good writer. I got to meet him actually recently.
That's exciting.
He's a very prolific American author in that genre. He finished off the Eye of the World series. This is going very dweeby, but
it's your thing.
Basically, if there's magic in it, if there's dragons in it, if there's
you're all about it.
I'm on it.
And is that because it sort of takes you to a different world and you can check out?
I think so. Yeah. I think so. I think so. It's quite unusual for me to pick up like a long series that's not in some way magic related. I don't know if that makes me kind of weird, but probably.
I think the best thing is you found something that you love and you pursue it.
Yeah.
And then you've done the same with beer, you've done the same with music, so just keep on doing that. Yeah. Where do you find you're at your happiest?
At my happiest. And
that can change, but recently, where have you just been like, yes, this is a great day, I love what I do?
Yeah, so you know what it is? It's as the breweries got bigger, and as we've taken on more and more members of staff, it's infectious when like you do something you're really proud of, and to see them be really proud is quite a feeling, and to have everyone together and everyone is super stoked. Yeah, and then that is really nice. That's really really nice. Like, of course, that's going to make you smile and make you be happy.
So being part of a team, part of a growing team, a growing and successful team.
Yeah, exactly. A happy team.
Yeah. Well, maybe this might be the same answer, but my last question for you is, what do you enjoy most about being part of the beer industry?
All the beer I get to drink.
Yep.
All the beer. So yeah, of course. Like in London and generally in the UK, but we make some of the best beer in the world. It's world class.
We have such history here as well. It really inspires me.
And I am honoured to be part of it. And to live it, to brew it, to just be around. So,
thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Your continued experiments. I can't wait to see what other projects come out in the future. And I'm just gonna go drink more of this Gosa because it is so tasty.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that wraps our first episode of Beer with Nat. Thank you so much for listening, and a huge thank you to Jaega for her time. Come on back in 2 weeks' time to hear my next guest, Alex Shaw, talk about her love for all things packaging. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. And to make sure you don't, why not subscribe on your favorite podcast platform to have the next episode delivered right to you? Or, if you're already subscribed, leave a rating or review if you liked what you heard. In the meantime, keep up with me on social at Beer with Nat to let me know what you thought about the episode or who you'd like to hear from in the future. Chat soon!